Let me go ahead and talk about both these bills, and then we'll come forward and sign them. But music is a big deal to Arkansas, but it's also the history of the civil rights struggle that is such a part of our past that we need to learn from, that we need to be inspired by, and that's what Daisy Bates did. And it's very appropriate that we not only honor in Statuary Hall in our nation's capital Johnny Cash, a great musician, but along the same time frame actually, that we see Daisy Bates in the struggle for civil rights. And I think those two great historic figures that made a difference for all Arkansans will be the story of Arkansas in our nation's capital. I remember whenever I was elected as a freshman member of Congress that the Speaker had a dinner for all the new members in Statuary Hall, and we were surrounded by all of the states and their iconic history represented by statute. And of course, we had James Clark and Euless Rose as the representatives from Arkansas, historic figures. That's over 100 years ago. And this, whenever you take guests through Statuary Hall, we want our memories through our statutes to tell the story of Arkansas. And I believe that our story is well represented by these two historic figures, Johnny Cash and Daisy Bates. I see the Speaker of the House here, Matthew Shepard, who's done a great job shepherding everything through the session. You're good at shepherding. But thank you for your leadership and participating in this today as well. But I also want to recognize Senator Dave Wallace, who sponsored this legislation, fought hard for it, and there was a little competition out there. Because we got a lot of history in Arkansas. I want to invite you to the microphone to make any comments.
Thank you, sir. You know, I think we did a lot of great work this session. For me, this was a fun bill. Was not an easy bill. We were all the way along. We had to work hard to get it passed. But when you look at the combination, you look at Miss Daisy Bates, and you're looking at courage. Downstairs, right below us, when you walk out of this north side, there's a portrait of Miss Daisy Bates. And I would look at that, and I would look at the statues of the Little Rock Nine and the courage that it took. I'm an old soldier. I know a little bit about courage. But the courage that it took for her every day to walk with those children. Miss Bates changed Arkansas, changed it for the better. Johnny Cash, I grew up about 20 miles away. I pick cotton, I chop cotton. Johnny Cash represents the common man, the common woman of Arkansas. I cannot think of two better statues than what we have. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've introduced the Johnny Cash family who's here, but I also want to recognize Jan Brown, who is the goddaughter of Daisy Bates, and we have Miss Annie Abrams here, and thank you for your historic support. Daisy Bates was. And we also, Mary Louise Williams, and Deshaun Scarborough, the Martin Luther King Commission. Would you go ahead and introduce everyone? Go ahead, sir.
I'm Charles King. I'm the chairman of the Daisy Bates House Foundation.
Thank you.
And I'm Mary Harden, the tour director for 1207 West 48th Street, which is the historic home of Mrs. Daisy Bates.
I'm Johnny Lee Hassan, and I'm the past president of Christian Ministry Alliance. We are still the owners of the Daisy Bates Foundation house. We also established the L.C. Daisy Bates Museum Foundation under the leadership of our past president. And so I'm also representing Ms. Bates as one of her children.
And I'm Deborah Robinson, and author. I've worked with Mrs. Bates on 2 documentaries
Well, thank you, and we got some music here too. Maybe that'll happen later. But let's go ahead and sign these bills. That's the reason we're here. If y'all can gather around, then we will make this historic day. What this day means. It's been 100 years since we voted to have different representation of Arkansas in our United States Capitol. This is an extraordinary moment, recognizing the contributions of two incredible Arkansans. And I will sign this bill first, which is Senate Bill 75 by Senator Wallace. And I'll just read two paragraphs of recitation here, and that recognizes Daisy Lee Gatson Bates, a citizen of Arkansas, served as a civil rights activist, writer, and publisher who worked and documented the struggle to end segregation in Arkansas. Daisy Lee Gatson Bates is an inspiration through her lifelong career of social activism and her dedication to ending segregation in Arkansas. Thank you, and God bless the memory of Daisy Lee Gatson Bates. And then Johnny Cash, a citizen of Arkansas, is a legendary musician who sold over 90 million records, is one of the few people to be recognized in both the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he received numerous awards for his work. And Johnny Cash articulated the story of his life in Arkansas through his music and made historic contributions to the musical history of our state and country. The General Assembly finds and resolves that the statutes of these will be placed in the nation's capital. With that, I will sign this into law. What am I missing here? They all work. All right. It is signed into law. And the second bill. Excuse me, I've got to do my work here. Is House Bill 1030 by Representative Rye and Senator Stubblefield to establish Arkansas Music Appreciation Day. And I will also sign this 11th day of April. Good day, too.
It was thrilling. You know, that it wasn't easy for them to get the bill through, or the statute bill through, and they just dug in. They were tenacious about it, and the state senator and the congressman. So it was quite moving. I didn't expect to be so moved when he finally put pen to paper.
When did you first hear about it?
Recently, Ruth Hawkins at Arkansas State University, who we've been connected to all this time because Arkansas State University bought my dad's boyhood home, restored it. It's a New Deal era colony, restored the administration building, some of the outbuildings. And so we have a long-term relationship, and she knew this was happening and told me about it. The statues in the Capitol.
So have you been following the progress of the bill?
No, she waited till the very end to tell me it passed.
Like, you know, there was some debate, Arkansas obviously a conservative state, and there were some people who said, oh, he was a drug addict. Yeah. But Senator David Wallace said, well, he had faults like everyone. And
well, I mean, I don't think you can look at a great artist like that and go, well, this rocky period of his life overtakes what he did and who he was. I mean, he was one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, period. No matter what else happened, right? So I think it's fitting that he is there with Daisy Bates, that those two statues, I mean, I have tremendous admiration for this woman. Her civil rights activism and, you know, her sense of justice. And for them to be standing together, it means a lot to the family. I can't wait to stand in Washington and see this unveiled.
Yeah. Any idea when that will be? Has
No.
anybody talked to you about that?
Well, they have to take proposals for the actual artwork, so, you know, knows how long that will take.
Yeah, sure.
Do you plan to be involved at all in the fundraising process?
For the statue and everything?
Yeah, because I think the funding's it's going to be privately.
Yeah, it's private.
Right.
Donations.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I'll show up at a party.
Yeah, very good. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people excited about contributing to that. Did you know about Daisy Bates beforehand? Did you know?
Oh, sure. I saw a film about her, or a film clip about her, and quite some time. I've known about her for quite some time, and I just always had tremendous admiration. I mean, that was true courage, what she did. And civil rights, more important than ever in this time in our country, and so the fact that they are honoring her, that means a lot.
In 1957, when, you know, the desegregation of Central happened, that was the same time period that your dad was breaking out at Sun.
That's right. They were nearby neighbors, and both causing a lot of change in the two different ways. Although, you know, my dad's activism was serious as well, when he stood up for prisoners and Native Americans.
Do you think he'd been surprised at something like this now, and especially in the festival and the home and dice and all that?
I think he would. I think he'd be deeply honored. I don't like to put thoughts in my father's head or words, but he loved where he came from so much. He always said that he loved every rock, every tree, every clod of dirt, every bit of soil. He knew where he came from and stayed connected to it his whole life. So the fact that this is happening and it's about Arkansas, I think would mean more to him than anything.